Chase Lehocky here. Blue Futon, Netflix, Dahmer, Ryan Murphy. Is it realistic? Does it take liberties and be Hollywoodized? Does it have an agenda? Why can't we just tell the true fucking story? So Dahmer, what's it about? First, Ryan Murphy, he is the creator of all the American Horror Stories. He did Impeachment. He did the OJ trials. I think he did one more event. But anyway, what is this about? This is a 10-episode series on Netflix. It talks about Dahmer, what he did to his victims, and also talking about the victim's family as a whole, as well as Dahmer's grandma, dad, stepmother, mother, cops, etc. So did I like this documentary? Not really. I think this documentary is way too slow. Yes, the acting is phenomenal by Evan Peters. He does a fantastic job in this. He is the star of the show. But however, I gotta be consistent with how I rated The Woman King and how I'm rating this. I do research on information based on true events. And my goodness, when researching this does not match real world at all. So with that, I'll get the positives of the documentary first. The acting, like I said, Evan Peters does a fantastic job as Jeffrey Dahmer. He's sadistic, he's crazy, he's cool, calm, and collective. I know that sounds really weird, but Dahmer seems like he's someone that just doesn't have emotions. He's a cool, calm, and collective dude, but then when he snaps, he fucking snaps, and it does it completely well in this documentary. I think how the camera work in this movie and the different color palettes are very interesting and unique in how they decided to do it. Richard Jenkins, also, he's in it. He does a fantastic job playing Jeffrey Dahmer's dad. But overall, this documentary felt just incomplete as well as just fake. Like I said in the intro, if I'm going to get on The Woman King for not telling the truth, I am a consistent person and I don't have double standards. This documentary takes way too many liberties of what it wants to portray. Let's be fucking blunt. Apparently the main black neighbor never was the neighbor. She lived in a completely different building. So with knowing that information and watching the documentary, the second half of this documentary is her side of the story, I don't know what to believe, and it takes me out of it. Because I'm like, well, that's fake because she never lived there. Well, that's fake because that happened. Well, that's fake because that happens. And then what we're talking about with the families at the last half, we completely ignore the first two victims that happened in the 70s and 80s. We are more focused on the community in Milwaukee. I completely understand they want to focus on that, but there are still victims, and apparently there's a last victim that they don't talk about. Yes, race is involved. The first two victims, I think a couple, there's a Filipino, then a Mexican, then the last victim was a white person, and we just don't even talk about that victim, which I think is kind of odd because according to this documentary, the last person was someone else, he gets caught, and there was someone else. So they completely ignore this last person. Is it because he was white? I don't know. But I just feel like the last 4 episodes, we were focused on race way too much. We bring Jesse Jackson, Reverend Jesse Jackson, and whenever he's involved, I'm sorry, I roll my eyes. A person that is that rich, that gets involved in this situation, it's hard to take those people seriously that make money off tragedy. And I'm sorry, he makes money off tragedy. Just look how much he makes and what he does. It's the truth. I'm sorry. What else do you want me to say? It's literally record. It's record. Period. Dot. And then with that, it's just hard for me to suck me in just knowing what you're saying is spouting false information. Tell a true story. And then when you have a story which is a LGBT story, he was gay. He murdered gay black guys. He murdered gay white guys. He murdered gay races overall. But now Netflix has the audacity to take off the LGBT, topic thing because it hurt a community. Well, I'm sorry. It's truth. You're erasing history by caving to the woke audience. What the fuck? I mean, there's nothing straight about this dude. Even the father's like, hey, do you know any girls? And he would fake about being his straight. He was gay. Embrace it. Some serial killers were gay. Some serial killers are straight. Some serial killers are white. Some serial killers are black. Some serial killers are Asian. It fucking happens. Just embrace it and don't hide and shield shit. It bothers me and it's such fucking frustrating. Like, I just want to watch something. If it's based on something true, is it that hard to tell the truth? Is it that hard to be like, oh, we're going to offend this side of the audience. Oh, we're going to offend these people. Sucks to suck. In the 70s, in the 80s, in the 90s, people died from a serial killer. Tell the truth. Is it that hard? The answer is no. But my goodness, I mean, yes, I also say the pacing, the slowness, it took extremely hard to actually get where we're going with. But I'm sorry, the last half of the documentary literally took me out knowing half the shit was false. Is it false that they were sleeping in the lobby of the hotel? I don't know, because the person that is living in apartment 203 never was in apartment 203 or 213. She was in a different building. So it's like, what am I supposed to believe? What am I supposed to believe? I would rather them focus more on the deaf kid's family or someone else's family. Yeah, we focus a little bit on the deaf kid's family, and we would focus a little bit on this 14-year-old who died, but that is it. All the other families are kind of like pushed aside. Like I said, I mean, the first two family victims was never talked about. The last victim was never talked about. Was about race. I can't tell you. Yes, majority of his victims, I want to say there were 17 or 18 of them, and probably 14 or 13 of them were gay black men in the Milwaukee region, which is fine if you want to focus on that. But my goodness, when you have the courtroom scenes and everything like that, it feels like you're erasing history. And it's like, come on. I don't want to focus on this neighbor. I don't want to focus on this neighbor. I don't. Because the neighbor is false. And then the whole police thing where we have a reporter that was there doing the whole reporting is like them labeling the police as homophobic and racist is completely false. So that makes me also wonder what happened to these two cops. Were they actually given a medal? I don't know. Because when I was doing research, let's do some quick research real quick. All right, research. Here it is. This is what really happened. So apparently a judge ruled they were fired. That wasn't in the story. So then they talked about where a judge reinstated them like 4 or 3 years later and got back pay of $55K each. However, the Fire and Police Commission voted 4-1 to appeal the decision to reinstate the cops. Said that appealing the judge's decision was gutless. So it doesn't really talk about that. Yeah, the unions were behind, but you have the commission and everyone else saying they shouldn't be police officers. So it doesn't talk about it in the documentary. So it makes you wonder, what the fuck are they hiding? Did they even do research when doing this documentary? I don't even count a documentary to show, I'm sorry. But overall, Dahmer, the acting's great. But when I have to pause the story almost every 15 minutes and Google, did this really happen? And realize, oh shit, that did, that didn't. This did, this didn't. This didn't, this didn't, this didn't. I'm like, what am I doing? Why am I watching this if I know that this story about a real-life serial killer takes liberties that are false? So Dahmer, murder fucking something. So Dahmer, Monster, the Jeffrey Dahmer story will receive a 2 out of 5 with Futon. So he goes at 40%. So the critics' news scores gave this one. So you have the critics a 53% with 19 of them. Audience score an 84% with 1048 of them. Here's critic consensus. While Monster is seemingly self-aware of his peril in glorifying Jeffrey Dahmer, creator Ryan Murphy's salacious style nevertheless tilts the horror story in the realm of queasy exploitation. Sure, I have to agree with that critic synopsis, but like, seriously, if you're gonna tell a story of a person, something this serious, something so grotesque of him killing 17 people, not just killing them, eating them, putting them in acid, fucked up shit. There is no reason to falsify this information. There's no reason to. 0. So 40, 53, 84. Chase out with the Blue Futon. Like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think is Booftonic. You Booftonians, thanks for watching. Have a fantastic day. And seriously, I get fucking pissed off. Like, is it that hard? Just tell the truth. And don't hide shit. Like, if it's an LGBT story, it sucks to suck. Because he was gay. He was gay. I'm sorry. A lot of white kids fucking shoot up schools. It fucking sucks. There's a gay serial killer. Fucking sucks. What do you want me to do about it?